Okay, we've got another video I'm working on here. I gotta get the camera set up right. See if we can do this. Oh, sorry for the wiggles. Oh, okay, that's not working. Maybe that's better. Okay, let's try that. I have to be able to get it where you can see the book. Here's the book we're going to read. It's a step into reading book, and it's Looking for Bigfoot. And actually, yeah, that looks better if I turn it that way. There we go. So step into reading books are really great, and a lot of you read them already. And let's see, it's a nonfiction read. This is a step 4. Step 4, if you look on the back, is reading paragraphs, typically grades 2 through 3. If you can read simple sentences with confidence, then you are ready for step 4. Okay, so this one, on the back too, there's a fun little thing at the top. It says, over 2,000 sightings of wild ape men have been reported in America. Does Bigfoot really exist? Or is it just a myth? Let's see what we've got here. Looking for Bigfoot. And I'll read and then I'll turn the page because my camera angle is not big enough to do both. Here we go. Looking for Bigfoot. Chapter 1. Seeing is believing. And this is the picture that goes with this beginning of the chapter. Here we go. Seeing is believing. In the fall of 1869, a reporter for the Antioch Ledger goes deer hunting in the mountains, 20 miles south of Grayson, California. When he returns to his camp, he sees that someone has stirred up his fire. He circles his camp, and he finds large, bare footprints in the dirt. Who or what has been messing with his campsite? He hides on a nearby hillside and waits to find out. Look at those big feet. Hours later, the hunter hears a high, eerie whistle. It raises the hairs on his arms. And then he sees someone standing next to his fire, but this is no man. It has a long torso, its body, short legs, and a small head with a flat nose and deep-set eyes. And it's covered all over with hair like an ape. Sorry, I was reading ahead. When I got to that sentence, it didn't come out right. It was covered all over with hair like an ape. And this is a cool picture. Ah! It whistles again, and then it stoops to grab a burning stick from the fire. It swings the stick over its head. The embers are streaking like fireworks, and soon it's joined by a second ape-like creature. And the two of them walk off together, passing within 20 yards of the hunter, who cannot believe his eyes. Here's the hunter hiding. Now let's fast forward to the year 2002. Helen Papassay, I think that's how you say it, Helen Papassay, and her mother go blueberry picking just north of Grassy Narrows in Ontario, Canada. They're driving in their truck when they spot a hulking figure on the side of the road. It stands about 8 feet tall, with an ape-like face, and it's covered with long blackish red hair. The ape man ducks into the woods, but the women are too terrified to get out of the truck and follow it. Later, the mother and daughter tell reporters what they have seen. Investigators who return to the site find huge 16-inch long footprints in the dirt. When the report is aired on TV later that night, calls pour into the station. Many callers also claim to have seen giant footprints or even huge hairy ape men lurking in those same woods. Over the last 200 years, there have been more than 2,000 sightings, of wild ape men reported in America, and most have been made in the mountains and the forests of the Northwest. So if you're looking at the United States, Northwest. Okay, so like up above California, Northern California, Oregon, Washington area, okay? And into Canada too. The sightings tend to sound very much alike. Eyewitnesses all tell of a large, hairy, ape-like creature. It stands on two legs, and the creature is usually seen by itself in the woods at night. Some people say they've actually heard it scream or whistle. Others have smelled something that makes them really want to gag. Still, others say that they have seen only its footprints. Some have made plaster casts of the footprints. Here's your proof, they say, that Bigfoot really exists. But does Bigfoot really exist, or is it only a myth? He really exists. Chapter 2. It's all a hoax. Well, in 1958, Ray Wallace was a construction boss in Bluff Creek in Northern California. He told of seeing huge footprints on his work site in the woods. Jerry Crew, a man who worked for him, traced one of the footprints on a piece of cardboard, and he took it to a local tracker. The tracker showed him how to take a plaster cast of it. Jerry Crew and his 16-inch plaster cast of a Bigfoot appeared on the front page of a paper called the Humboldt Times. The mysterious track was dubbed Bigfoot, and the name stuck. Well, from the beginning, most people thought the footprint was a hoax. After all, Ray Wallace was known as a practical joker. "Why would I pull a hoax?" Ray said. "This thing is bad for business, and some of my men are so scared that they quit." But real or a hoax, the Bigfoot prints on Ray's worksite got lots of people interested. They started to collect Bigfoot news stories and Bigfoot footprints. They formed Bigfoot clubs. They went on Bigfoot scouting trips. And then I'm going to show you a picture. It says, "Huge footprints hold mystery of friendly Bluff Creek giant." And there's a picture of this guy, Jerry Crew, measuring his Bigfoot. Years later, Ray admitted to friends that it was all a hoax. Ray had made the footprints using big wooden feet tied onto his shoes with leather straps. When Ray died, one newspaper claimed Bigfoot just died. There's a picture of how he did it. With hoaxes like Ray's, well, it's hard for most of us to know what to believe about Bigfoot. But scientists need more than eyewitness reports or plaster casts, which can easily be faked. They need some strong, solid scientific proof. Chapter 3, The Wild Man of the Woods. Here we go. Scientists believe that there are no apes that are native to North America now or ever. So how could Bigfoot exist? Well, scientists who study native cultures have always believed that there is a kernel of truth to be found in folklore and myths. People all over the world make up myths to explain things that they don't understand, like how babies might go missing or how hunting camps can get wrecked. Almost all tribes native to the Pacific Northwest tell the tale of a wild man living in the woods. The Salish Indians, or Salish Indians, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Here's how it's spelled. Salish Indians. Where did it go? There we go. The Salish Indians of British Columbia call that mythical creature Sasquatch, which means wild man of the woods. The Hoopa Indians of Northern California call it Oma, which means boss of the woods. The Salish and the Hoopa both believe in this ape man, and they are not the only ones. Okay, here's another pronunciation. Chimshe'un. And I'm doing the little spelling. I like these books because they tell you how to Chimshe'un. They tell you how to say words you might not be familiar with. That's one of the things that are great about these step-in reading. The Chimshoun people have lived in the Pacific Northwest since before Columbus. They tell the tale of Baush, which means ape or monkey. Ancient carvings made from stones from the Columbia River show what some people consider the head of the Baush, and it looks like that of an ape. So here's one of the stone carvings from hundreds and hundreds of years ago. And it says, an ancient stone monkey head. I don't know if it's coming out backwards, the words for you or not. I'm not sure. I hope it's right. I think it's right. When I do it, it doesn't look right when I see it. There we go. If there were no apes living nearby, if there were no TVs or magazines like there are today, well, how did the Chimshoun people know what apes looked like? And if there were apes in North America, how did they get here? And where are their bones and fossils? Well, to answer these questions, we must first go to China. And here's another picture of a Chimshoun mythical being mask. So hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago, they made these things that I'm going to show you. And yet scientists believe there were no apes in America. So how did they even know what these creatures look like? Look at that mask. Tell me what that looks like. Yep. They must have seen something. They didn't have TV. Chapter 4. The Bigfoot Yeti Gigantotheory. There we go. In 1935, German scientist Ralph von Koenigswald began searching Chinese medicine shops for what he called dragon bones. Dr. von Koenigswald was a paleontologist. That's a person who studies fossils. He knew these dragon bones were really the teeth of ancient mammals. In Hong Kong, he found a gigantic tooth of an ape, twice the size of a gorilla's. The ape lived about 1 million to 300,000 years ago, and Dr. von Koenigswald named it Gigantopithecus. I got that. Gigantopithecus. And here's a picture of a gorilla tooth next to a Gigantopithecus tooth. There's a gorilla tooth, and there's a Gigantopithecus. 1 million years ago. Well, in 1950, an Italian expedition to China found a fossil jawbone of this ancient ape, Gigantopithecus. By studying the teeth and the jawbone, scientists were able to figure out that Gigantopithecus probably looked something like a modern orangutan. And an orangutan does look something like a yeti. What's a yeti? And here's a picture of a Gigantopithecus model from the American Museum of Natural History. It does look like a giant orangutan. Interesting. Very interesting. The Yeti, Y-E-T-I, Yeti. Sometimes they have an H in there, Y-E-H-T-I. The Yeti is an ape man, somewhat like Bigfoot, sighted in the snow-capped mountains of Tibet. Reports go back hundreds of years, but people in the West didn't know much about the Yeti until 1951. You see, that year, on an expedition up Mount Everest, British mountaineer Eric Shipton, he photographed a line of huge footprints in the snow, and the footprints were very crisp, showing 5 toes. And here's a Yeti footprint next to the head of an ice pick. You can see how big it is. And look at 5 toes and 3 little ones. That is a very crisp footprint. Woo! Look at that. Look at all those footprints coming down the mountain. Yeti footprints leading off into the mountains. Shipton's photographs and stories were sent to newsrooms around the world, and suddenly everyone was talking about the Yeti. They called him the Abominable Snowman. There were magazine articles, stuffed toys, and even a Hollywood movie. And while lots of people had fun with the idea of a Yeti, Most people didn't really believe it existed. I do. They said the footprints were made by a Tibetan blue bear, and that the sun had just melted them and made them look bigger. Some said that the footprints belonged to a human, a hermit, like a loner, and others said it was just another hoax. But a few people believed the footprints were real, and they also saw that the prints looked an awful lot like those Bigfoot footprints that had been found in North America. These people started thinking that both the Yeti and the Bigfoot were proof that Gigantopithecus, the ancient giant ape, still roamed the earth. That's the bear they're trying to say made those prints. But his feet are different. His feet don't look like that. Well, it's easier to believe that the Yeti might be related to Gigantopithecus. After all, they are both from the same continent of Asia. But Bigfoot is in North America. How did it get all the way from Asia to North America? Well, the answer is, perhaps, just the same way that mankind did. Got there on foot. Geologists believe that several times in prehistory, the continents of Asia and North America were actually connected by a land bridge that stretched from Siberia to Alaska. Bigfoot researchers believe that Gigantopithecus crossed that land bridge and traveled south to what is now the Pacific Northwest. But like the woolly mammoth and the saber-toothed tiger, wouldn't Gigantopithecus be extinct by now? Not necessarily. Some animals thought to be long extinct have been discovered alive and well. In 1938, in East London, South Africa, museum worker Marjorie Latimer found a beautiful purple-blue fish on the deck of a fishing boat that was owned by a friend. I know what fish this is. She took that dead fish back to the museum with her in a taxi, and there she looked through her books for a picture to match the fish. She could not believe what she was seeing. The fish on her desk matched exactly the picture of a coelacanth. I'm going to show you that word. Coelacanth, it's that one right there. Coelacanth. Coelacanth is kind of a big deal in the animal world here, and you'll see why. The picture matched a coelacanth, thought to have been extinct for over 70 million years. Well, if a living fossil, like the coelacanth, still swims in the seas, and just so you know, I remember when I was a lot younger watching a special on the news where some fishermen caught a coelacanth alive, and there it was, like on the video, a live coelacanth. And it's kind of cool because they have legs and fins, so, you know, they kind of walk up on land. Well, if a living fossil like the coelacanth still swims the seas, why can't a giant ape still roam the woods of North America or the mountains of Tibet? These are the kinds of questions cryptozoologists ask. I'm going to show you that word too because it's really kind of just cool to look at. And if you can learn to spell that word by memory, that would be amazing. Cryptozoologists. There we go. Cryptozoologists. Cryptozoologists. Cryptozoologists are people who study animals that may or may not exist and are known only from eyewitness accounts. Cryptozoologists seek scientific proof that such mythic animals do in fact exist. And I bet you can think of a few. Some of these animals are rather small and dull, but others, like the Loch Ness Monster. Cryptozoology. But others, like the Loch Ness Monster and the Kraken, are big and exciting. Cryptozoologists also hunt for proof that extinct animals like Gigantopithecus still survive in the form of Bigfoot or the Yeti. So we know Gigantopithecus did live at one time, and that's pretty cool just on its own. But that it might have evolved down into the Yeti or Bigfoot, or didn't evolve, it's just the same. It's just kind of mysterious. Here we go. Well, cryptozoologists are often asked this question. If Gigantopithecus made its way to North America, why haven't any fossils been found? Well, the usual answer is that only an armful of such fossils has been found in Asia. Fossils are rare, even under the best of conditions. The damp climate of northwestern America, it's not ideal for preserving bones. Weather, decay, and wild animals make most old bones disappear. If there were no remains to be found anywhere, oh, sorry, my cat. If there were no remains to be found anywhere, where then is the scientific proof of the existence of Bigfoot? Well, they found some fossils of Gigantopithecus, but you know, humans, they bury their bones so that they're not dug up by animals too. So, but animals don't really bury their bones, so I don't know, maybe there's something to that. Where is the scientific proof of the existence of Bigfoot? Chapter 5, scientific proof! Oh, my cat's pushing my camera around. Salem, stop. Okay. Well, there is some evidence to suggest that Bigfoot is real. Out of the hundreds of casts taken of footprints, some are clearer than others. A few even show the texture of the skin on the bottom of the foot. You see, modern apes have ridges on the soles of their feet, like grooves. Dr. Grover Krantz found similar ridges in Bigfoot prints collected in southeastern Washington. At least one expert on fingerprints says these prints are real. And here's a picture of a footprint cast made by Dr. Grover Krantz in 1982. And the littler picture up top shows a close-up of those skin ridges. So kind of like fingerprints. In addition to these ridged footprints, there is one other well-studied print. In the year 2000, Bigfoot researchers on an expedition to Washington's Skookum Meadows made an amazing discovery. They found a print of a creature that had reclined in the mud to reach some fruit they had left out overnight. Well, the next morning, researchers used 200 pounds of plaster to get not just a footprint, but also casts of the body, the heel, the thigh, the buttocks, the arm of the creature. There were also some hairs that were taken from that site that tests later showed came from a living primate. So see, he's in the mud. He laid down and there's some fruit. And then when he got up, he left like a body print and some hairs. Well, people looking for Bigfoot have also used expensive recording equipment to try and catch sounds in the deep woods. And these high, eerie whistles and screams are very hair-raising to hear. I've heard some of them on Bigfoot shows and stuff. Kind of cool. Zoologists listen to these tapes. They've been unable to say that these sounds come from any known creature. They don't recognize the sound. So who made them then? Maybe it's one Bigfoot calling out to another across the forest. It's their language or something, you know, like whales sing and dolphins click. Well, if there are foot, body, and voice prints, why has no one ever found a body, either shot by a hunter or just dead of natural causes? Well, there's no good answer to this question, other than that the woods are vast enough to hide a Bigfoot, whether it's dead or alive. Why aren't there more photos? People don't always have their cameras handy when a Bigfoot happens to walk across their path. Many witnesses have also reported that they were just too scared, too shocked or astonished to actually reach for their camera in time. Well, there might not be many photos, but there is a short film that Bigfoot believers think offers up the most powerful proof of all. I think if you saw that, like you would be, you'd probably just take off running or something, especially if it saw you, you know. I don't think you'd be thinking, oh, I'm going to take out my camera, my little, put on my camera, hit my dots, and film. Because I think you'd probably be hiding. Shh, don't let him hear you. Chapter 6 is called, and I've seen this video, and I bet you guys have too, but it looks pretty real to me. Lights, camera, action, Bigfoot. Here we go. One day in October, the year 1967, two men set out on horseback into the wilds of Bluff Creek, California. I think that was the one that we read about earlier, Bluff Creek. Their names are Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin. They aim to find a Bigfoot and capture it on film. After a few days of searching, they come to a stream where their horses begin to snort and shy away. They're afraid of something. But what are they afraid of? One of the horses rears up and throws Gimlin on the ground. And suddenly both men see what it is that has spooked the horses. Directly across the stream stands a real, live Bigfoot. And if you've seen the video, this is, you see when he's walking and he turns and he looks at the camera and keeps on walking. While his horse wheels in panic, Patterson grabs his camera from his saddlebag and he starts filming. And the Bigfoot looks like a female. She pauses and she turns to look into the camera. That's the one we always see. And then she walks upstream, straight into the brush. And here's a picture, frame 352 of the Patterson film. That's the actual, so they took like a freeze frame of the film, that one scene where she looks right into the camera. You can see, it looks like a Bigfoot to me. Doesn't look like an orangutan though. But, you know, depending where they live, their hair color changes and stuff. So, I mean, maybe the body could be like an orangutan. It does have really long arms. All right. Even though this is what the men have come for, is that where we stopped? Yes. Even though this is what the men have come for, they are still amazed that they actually found a Bigfoot. After they calm their horses, Roger and Bob, they take plaster casts of the footprints that the creature has left in the soft, wet sand by the stream. Scientists from all over the world have pored over this one short film, just over and over. Some say that it is just a hoax. It's just a man in some kind of gorilla suit, they say. But others say it's real. How else can you explain the muscles rippling beneath the fur? A Hollywood special effects man who is an expert in gorilla suits, he looks at that film and he swears it cannot possibly be a costume. There's no way. The people at Disney Pictures say that film would be nearly impossible to fake. Even Diane Fossey, the world-famous gorilla expert, said on TV that she believes that Patterson film, along with all the other evidence, well, it calls for major scientific study of this giant ape man. Perhaps someday, one of the many scientific expeditions now scouring the forests of the great Northwest will dig up some bones or fossils, maybe even come face to face with a living, breathing Bigfoot. But until that day comes, we will keep our minds open and our eyes on the deep woods, and we will wonder. And that's the end. I don't know, what do you guys think? I'm all in. I think it's real. I'm all in. All right, guys, that's it for now. On to another one.